Hello, I'm Chris, this is Gross Models, and this is my build video for the 8bitCade XL, the tiny handheld games console with built-in screen, memory controls and everything, that you have to build yourself. Now, you could go and buy one, lots of emulators and things out there, but building it yourself adds an extra element to things. And obviously, this being the Models channel, it's time to do some building. I'm going to move down to the bench, we'll show you all the components that are in the box, and then we'll start building it. So here we are, one small box for one small console. Let's have a look inside and see what we've got. We've got the instructions and the websites to go to. We've got a cable and we've got a bag full of parts. Let me move this over there. We'll have a quick look at the outside. Learners, gamers and makers, obviously. All the stuff on there. There's some of the screenshots from the games that you can install onto it. Or if you know what you're doing, you can even write your own. So we have a cable and an elastic band. The elastic band is in fact used in the building process. We've got a cable. I was expecting it to be the big chunky USB cable, but it's a USB cable, but it's also the micro USB, which is what you need to program and indeed charge the console. I say console, but this is the console. It's here. Look, let's have a look at what we got. To give you an idea as to the size of the console, we have the most important parts. This is just the back casing for it, which has protective plastic covering, paper covering over it. So we don't need that until right near the end. This is the most important part, really. Oh, they're all important, but this is the most interesting part. It's the PCB. The printed circuit board doesn't have anything on it at all. There's nothing on there, but there are wire traces and things that connect in through underneath that you can't actually see. But yeah, that is what we've got. As it says 8bitCade on the side there, branded. So yes, that's the thing that we're going to be putting everything onto. And everything is what else we've got in this bag. We've got the front panels for the buttons, direction buttons, reset button and speaker cutouts and things. They go about there, a bit like that. We have a box which is very interestingly the screen with a protective cover over it. So that's the size of the screen in there. No pins on that. We have to solder the pins which come with it. We have to solder them into place on the screen and then onto that. There's lots of soldering to be done on this. So all good, interesting stuff. We've got a box with some jumper cables, the speaker, the power switch in there. We've got some plastic spacers. We've got assorted capacitors and RGB LED in there as well, and some diodes in there also. We've got the fixing nuts and bolts and things, which again we won't need until near the end. We have a push button and a little cap for it, which is the reset button. That's different to the other buttons in there. We have, talking about the other buttons, let's get the other buttons. There we go. We've got 6 buttons, 4 directions, obviously, and like an A and a B buttons, and caps for those to go onto them so they're easy to press. We have a small circuit board. This is the charging board. So it's got the micro USB socket on the outside there, and power management chips and things, which we need to solder in place onto the board. We have the battery. What is this battery? Does it say on there? It's got numbers on there, but I don't know exactly what the chemical makeup of the battery is, but I don't need to know either. We have the chip, which is the memory chip, apparently, in there. We've also got a little bit of double-sided tape and some jumper connectors for the battery. We have some resistors. We've got 10K, 1K, 2K, and 330 ohm resistors. 3 of them, 1 of them, all various things to be soldered in place. And the main brain, the heart of the unit, is a little Arduino board with jumpers again, which we need to solder in place onto this and onto that. So yeah, it's all good stuff. Lots of soldering to be done. So I shall get my soldering mat out, get my soldering arm powered up, and we'll start following the instructions online. If you want to follow along, you can do so by heading to 8bitcade.com/make. If you do want to follow along, you might want to get yourself one of these. You can do so by following my referral link. I'll put it about here somewhere, or it's in the description below. Pop along to inventor.io, and you can help me out, help the channel out by supporting my referral link and get yourself one of these, what looks to be an excellent kit, and build along with me, or build along, after me, because I've already done it if you're watching this video, but you know what I mean. So I shall see you very shortly for the first in the soldering. Right, I believe I am fully prepared. I have all the tools necessary, and hopefully the intelligence and the skills to do this. Let's get on with it. I've got a screwdriver, which will be needed much later on, so I'll get that well out of the way for now. I don't need that to worry about yet. I have a desoldering tool, which, if you're not aware of, you sort of prime, and then by pushing this button, it does all the sucking from that end. So if you've got some solder you need to get rid of, while it's molten solder, you can put that next to it and basically suck it up. Hopefully won't be necessary, but it's there if I do. I shall put that over to the side as well. I have some nippers for cutting off excess pieces of wire. I have some solder. I have a soldering iron just off shot, which is nicely hot now. Good to go. I have some clips for holding things together. I have a visor which I shall be wearing so I can see what I'm doing. So we won't need the board as yet. I need to take the covering off the board when I do need it anyway. So yes, that's everything prepared. The first thing it tells me to do is to fit this board to this board. Now, I'm not going to show you, there is a video describing exactly what to do, as well as there being a website with pictures. I'm not going to be showing you any of those pictures or websites. You can pop along to the website yourself and have a look if you like. It's the one that, it's 8bitCade.com/make is where you can find all the details there. I'm going to have that up on screen so I can see it, and I'll follow along with that. But basically, yeah, if you want to follow along, find it yourself. I'm not going to put picture in picture on there because it's just far too complicated. I'm going to be worrying more about what I'm doing rather than trying to teach, because I don't know that I can teach this. I don't know. I've not done it for so long. So let me prepare and get the screen up and ready, and we'll see how it all goes together. Right, now, the first thing that it says to do is to take the battery and that off. The battery has not come installed on my particular version, but I have got the connector ready to go. So I do need to solder this on first, which I'm happier doing the soldering onto this first rather than the important brains of the outfit, because I'd rather start with something that's fairly easy. So that is going to go on there. We've got the 2 pins that come out the back to hold it in place. So I need to solder that and hold it. So I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to use a clip, just like so, just to hold it in place while I play around with it. Now, what they do, and what seems like a very good idea, is to use multiple clips around it, and that will give us a little table to build and do things with. So yeah, I'm going to move this off to the side while I do the soldering of the 2 pins that are coming out the bottom here with my soldering iron. Now, I'm just going to clean the tip of the soldering iron in there and make sure it does accept solder, and sort of by tinning the tip, make sure it works. Now, when you're soldering, I've done a quick tutorial on my webpage about this, but basically apply the heat and then the solder. Don't do it the other way around. So I'm going to touch that to the pin and the board, and then touch the solder to the same place, and then remove it, and that should make quite a nice joint. I shall have a quick look at the other side. That is that. Not too sure about my soldering iron. It's a different soldering iron to the one that was built for the stand. So let me remove that from there, then have a closer look and see if that is working. That has gone in there. The joints appear to be a good joint. I'm happy with how they are. Nice and shiny and working. You can't really see them on there, but trust me, you can see the reflection. That is good. I'm happy with that. It's working. I like it when things work. So next up, I'm going to be soldering this in place. I'm not going to show you all of everything, obviously, because that would just make this video very long and boring and pointless. But these jumpers go through there, as does the other one, with the long side coming through the board, coming out that side. Is that the right side? That's the wrong side. Let's forget about that. Let's turn this over. Got confused because I've just done that. So get it on the right side. It's always useful. The board does quite conveniently give you little spaces and boxes and things of what you've got to put on where. So you should be able to get it right. You never know. So let's see if that is on there. Let's just check. All the pins are coming through holes as they are on there. That's that. It does then say to use the elastic band, which is not a bad idea, to be honest. It seems to be quite cleverly thought out. You can use the elastic band to hold that in place without getting it through all the pins. There we go. So we'll keep the band away from the bits that we're going to be soldering. Like that. And there we have that now held securely in place while we're doing the soldering, and we can use our clips around the edge. Give us a little bit of a bridge for it to go onto while we do the soldering. So yeah, that's that. It does say to do the other side first, so I will. I'll turn it over and we'll do this. Now, it does say when you're soldering to do the ends and then sort of work your way in, so you're not just heating the same bit all of the time. I would have just started at the top and worked my way down, but it says no, so I won't. I will get it into a convenient position, and then fairly quickly I shall do some soldering onto that. That one has not taken. Didn't get the heat in the right place. Let's clean that off and try that again. I'm happy with that now. So yes, I shall continue until I've got both sides of this soldered in place, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, there we go. That is on. I'm fairly happy with that. A couple of the joints I went back and resoldered just to make sure they were good joints, but I'm happy with all of those. That should be okay, I'm pretty sure. Now I need to get rid of the excess of the pins from here, which I should just use the cutters. Now it says to make sure you don't cut the actual solder, so just cut above the solder. I haven't used these cutters for a long time. I don't know if they're any good. We'll try it and see. That seems to be okay. So I shall just nip along once again. Get rid of all of this. Get rid of your rubbish as well and cut them all down to more manageable proportions. And after that, I shall be soldering the switch in place. Where does it go? It goes over there where it says switch. Goes on there, already bent down to the right shape. 3 soldered joints across there. Nice and easy. I'll get those done after I've cut all these off and then progress on to the next part. Next up, we have the voltage regulator. No, it regulates the voltage apparently, but there we go. That goes on there, but we'll end up fitting like that. So we've got to put it in there and then use the board itself to bend these pins round. So let's bend that round. Fairly easy. Until it gets to there, then it gets a bit difficult. Why is that? Is that it's not catching against the board? Oh, it's just because it's touching against down there. So let's pull it out a little bit and get that bent down a bit more. Yeah, let me. I was bent down while it's not in the board. About 90 degrees. Then we'll see if that lines up. It doesn't, because that should line up with that hole. So I've got to make that bend a little bit closer to the circuit, to the block that's further away from that. So it should actually bend a little bit more in there. So we can push it down a little bit, it says. get it a bit more angled. Actually, if I bend them a little bit more than 90 degrees, that will also achieve the same result, I think. Yeah, there we go. That is now sitting flush and closer. I know I'll go a little bit further than that as well. Push that back to get that lined up. Yeah, a little bit more and I shall be done. Get back out of there. It comes back out of there. It does. It must. I didn't push it in very hard. Maybe that's because I've bent it a little bit further. Let's push it in there a little bit more while I'm here. It's only got to go that little bit more. There we go. So that's that. Soldering that in place again. I shall just hold it in place with a clip just to make sure. A little bit more soldering. Clean off the tip. Always clean your tip. So we'll get a bit more solder off the reel. Apply the heat to that one. Solder that. Nice joint. Middle one. And the third one didn't take at all. Let's try that again. There we go. So that is another part, another component installed. Happy with that. Nice shiny joints on that as well. Does this say I should trim it? Yes, I've got to trim those off as well. So let's get rid of them from there. I've just got a big pile of offcuts just down here, which I shall get rid of when they start to get in the way or when I finish. Whichever one happens the soonest. So there we go. That's that. They could be a little bit closer down, but I'm pretty sure they're far enough. They're not going to power anything else across the top there. So that is that. Next up, it says, make sure to trim these short, as some have advised they may interact with the screen. I shall make them a bit shorter. It makes a special point of saying that, so I shall. A little bit further down than that. Might mean that some of these might be a problem. I'll see. When I get to hit the screen on, which does go on that side, you do need to make sure that there's not any interference there. So I should check that down the line. I'll remember that. Now we've got to solder on the programming pins. These are this little bit at right angles. That goes onto there. Like so. Oh, if I can get it on there, it will eventually. Just on there like that. They will stick not out the bottom, but towards the bottom of the casing. I assume we need to connect things to them if we need to, reprogram. It does say hold it in place with blue tack, which is not a bad idea. I shall get a little bit of blue tack, which I have for just such eventualities. And we'll put a little bit either side. Hold these in place. It does say make sure the blue tack does not come in contact with the pins because they will become hot and will melt the blue tack. So yeah, just get it onto the plastic bit around there. Make sure that is at the angle you want it to be. And then more soldering to do on that. What's after that? What I shall see? Resistors. Right, I'll come back and show you some resistors. Right, we are starting with the 10K, 10,000 ohm resistors. I'll just put one on because it's going to be the same for all of them. And again, not going to bother repeating everything. Now, resistors are color coded. You can not see that, but they're color coded. That will tell you the resistance. I'm going to trust to the packet. Now, it says to hold the resistor and bend these legs down at 90 degrees. And that should give us about the right angle and everything for that. Resistors don't matter which way round they go. It does matter where they go, obviously. So yeah, that's going to go in there like so, all the way through to the board. The legs will spread back out on the other side and hold it nicely in place. and that will be soldered in place exactly the same as all the other soldering. It does say when you cut off the legs, keep them. We'll be using them a little bit later on. So yeah, I shall get these done. I think it's just resistors for a little while now. Yes, I shall put all the resistors on and then show you how it looks when that's done. There we go. All of the resistors in place. 5 of them down there, 4 of them down there. Underneath these resistors are 2 diodes. Now, diodes are a bit different to resistors. It does matter which way around they go. Diodes will only allow electricity to pass in one direction. It's not strictly true because electricity doesn't really flow, but you know what I mean. Now, these have to go that way around. There's a black bar on the diode, which goes where the white strip is on the board. So that one there, and that one next to it there. And they are soldered in place exactly the same way again. I might as well. I'll do these live for you. There you go. So I shall just apply some solder, some heat, and then solder to that side. Turn the entire thing round so I can get to it more easily. Do the same. Do the other end of it. Easy, sorted, no trouble at all. I've trimmed these down. Keep the legs for whatever's going to be happening very, very shortly. The LED is the next thing to put in place. So we'll, yeah, let's figure out where that's going to go. I'll trim those down in a moment. Now, the LED is an RGB LED, which if you've been following my Adventure Kit progress, you'll know that I just figured out how to work. Unless this video comes out before that, it might. I'll go into more detail on that in another video. I'll put a link up there so you can find it. Now, so there's one long one. That is the negative, the positive, sorry, on this particular one. The positive pin, that lines up with the plus. The positive and the blue pin outwards slightly. The blue one is the one that's over this way. That one there, we need to come outwards a little bit. And the positive is that. The red is here. Red, positive, green, and blue. So, yeah, let's figure out. This is going to go, where are we? Onto here. So, here we have 4 pins. We've got RGB CA. It says it's got a little box around the positive one. So, yeah, the flat side of the LED. The LED actually has a flat side as well, as all of these diode things do. All LEDs do, but you don't really pay attention to them. So I need to position these a little bit. That one's going there, that one's going down, that one's going up. I've got them in coming in a little cross-shaped bit that should fit neatly into those holes. Let's get the plus one in first because obviously it's the longest one. Then the others are just going to need a little bit of manipulation to get them all plugged in. And then that should go. I don't know if it goes all the way through. There's a thicker piece on the post. I'll check and see how far down that needs to go. I'll get those and that soldered in place. And then we'll be on to the next step. Right, that is that. It did go further down, not quite flush, but quite a long way down on there. I'm happy that that's as deep as it needs to be. Next we have the speaker, which does have a plus marked on the front there, and obviously a plus on there, so you get that the right way around. Otherwise you might not get any sounds at all, and we always like to have some sounds in our games, don't we? So positive and negative through there, again pushed all the way down, and then we can bend the legs out a little bit again to hold it in place while we get that soldered on. I'll do the soldering in a minute. You don't need to see all of the soldering. We've got capacitors to put in place, the big drum type capacitors. They go on there. Again, they have a positive and a negative. I'm assuming that the negative is the box side and the positive is the longer side. Let me just check. Longer leg is the positive hole, yes. So these will go into there, one there, and the other one next to it there. Long leg first. That's that. So they need to be soldered in place again, just like everything else. After that, we have to put the 104 capacitor, the other little capacitor, which again has one leg that is very slightly longer than the other. In the correct place. It doesn't actually say that it has to be a particular way around, this one. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not marked as positive or negative. It's just got two gaps there. So I shall put it on that way round because I can, and bend those out again. So all the soldering to be done. Then I shall come back and fit another board. That's going to be the interesting bit. So let me get the soldering done and then show you what's next. Right, this is the charge circuit board. It's not got any pins on it, and we're not going to fit any pins to it. We're going to use pins from these legs. Now, I'm going to use the LED legs because they're a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier. And I assume, yeah, they'll still fit through there okay. So that's what we need to do. There's 4 holes and 4 pins, which is convenient. So they need to go through there like that. What I'm going to do is bend them over, hold it in place, and then basically solder all 4 of those in place on both sides. So we're soldering one side obviously to the board, and the other side to the little board, and then we'll have it all programmed and ready to go. No, it's not. There's other stuff still to do, but that's the next step to get those 4 on there. One's fallen, 2 of them are falling out. I'm going to do one to hold it in place, and then 3 must have fallen out. Yep, 3's fallen out. I'm going to do one and then do the others and make sure it all fits as it should. The one thing it does say to make sure you do is to ensure that you don't short across those. There's a very next to the USB socket is obviously quite a prime position, so you need to make sure you don't short out anything across those when you've soldered it. Pretty sure I'm not going to, but we'll see. I've got 2 of them in because I need to have 2 in to make sure it's in the right place. So let's get the soldering done and then come back and see how that is going to look. Definitely a thing, isn't it? I'm very impressed with how it's coming along. It's starting to look quite good. Now, I did notice that this board is not quite flat. When I soldered in the first 2, I obviously had it at a slight angle, but it doesn't matter. As far as I can tell, it shouldn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter where the board is. There's plenty of room in there for the case to go on top, and the joints are soldered properly. So the wire basically between the 2 joints is a little bit longer than it would need to be, but that's not going to make any odds to this in the charging circuit anyway. So I'm happy that is that. Next up, we are doing the DIP, the memory chip. We're putting in the holder and then put the chip in a moment. It has to go the right way around. There is a indentation in there which goes onto the top of the indentation there. 8 pins going all the way through there. Obviously, getting them all in. Go, that's that in there. Push it all the way home. Yep. Now it says to bend these over, but that's actually quite a tight fit. So I'm happy that that's a tight fit. It's not going to go anywhere while I'm doing the soldering. I need to solder that in place there, and then it's just popping the chip in place. The chip is not soldered. I don't know if that's because that might be affected more by heat than anything else. It's a possibility. So once I've got this soldered in place, we'll just line that up. Again, there is an indentation on the top there that goes into the into the alignment with the indentation on the top there. It should just pop into place. I'll make sure it does and show you if it doesn't. I'll show you if it does as well, but you know what I mean. Right, yep, no trouble at all with that. The pins were not, in fact, too long once I soldered them in place, so I didn't need to clump them down at all. I'm happy with that. And the chip itself just pushed in without any problems at all. I did have to straighten the legs just a touch, but that's gone in there, and I am happy with how that's working. Next up, what is a controller without controls? We need some controls, so we're going to put some buttons in place. We've got 7 buttons to put in place. One is different to the others. It's a longer post. That is the reset button. I'm not sure why it's longer, but it needs to be. And yes, they'll only go one way round. 4 legs, but only 2 operations. It's either on or off. So that is going to go in there that way round and be soldered in place. And basically all of the rest of the buttons go in place. The button is put in the correct position. Turn it over, solder the joints. If they pick it, stick out, cut them down. Probably not going to need to do that on that one. Let's just have a look at the next one and see if that goes in there. Yeah, the pins do not stick out an awful lot. So I'm happy that I can just put all those in place and solder them all in place. There's obviously 5 over there and 2 over this side. I'll get them all put on and we'll see what happens next. It says be careful, don't push it too far. And next up is the screen. So yes, I shall get this very closely done. Let's have a look and see. The screen, where all the action is at. Now, we've got to put this in place. First of all, we've got the connecting pins which go through the board like that. It says don't put them in place yet, or put them in place, but don't solder them in yet because we've got to get them lined up properly. That's going there. The screen itself, obviously, we have some screws which are going to go through there from the thread is pointing out on the bottom side of the screen. So yeah, just like that, like it should be, as you'd imagine. And these nylon spacers will then go in place on there. So these are actually threaded. So we need to get those in there. Where did I put my screwdriver? There it is. So we get these spacers in place on there like that. All of those. So yeah, I'll cut away and get all of these done. Then we need to put that in place on, obviously, in the right position there. And we put nuts on the back there, the black nuts, which I have prepared just there. So let's get all of those on and connected through. Obviously, the pins will go through there then. And then that gets soldered in place. Let's just double check that that is what I'm going to be doing next. Yes. So I'll get these connected up. I'll push the pins through and then get them soldered in place. Be back in one moment. Right, that should be it for the soldering. Next up, we've got to plug in the battery. I've soldered all the connections on. I've put the bolts on there, so that's all where it should be. And that should be it. Next, it says to plug in the battery. It says to make sure the power is off, which is this way. We then plug the battery in. Now, as I said, my battery is slightly different to theirs in that it's not attached to the backboard like theirs is. I'm assuming that that's what this double-sided tape is for as well. It does say that you should be very careful not to damage the battery, obviously. So I've made sure that all of these panels in this battery compartment are as flushed down as I can get them. I think it's pretty, I'm sure it's safe, but that's okay. So that's plugged into there. What does it say? It says plug it in. Don't pause it. And that's it. It says charging and programming will be next. But what I'm going to do is turn it on. We've got a little lights come on. Little lights come on. That's always a good thing. What's happening on the other side? Oh, we have got stuff. We've got the 8bitCade loader. Select list. Oh, look, the buttons are working. Select game. I don't think I've got any games on it. Oh, but up and down do work. Nice. Reset. Reset resets it. Should I say burn and play? I don't know which one's A and which one's B. Let's battery test. Why not? Let's do a battery test. Oh, the LEDs. I forgot they had an LED on it. That works as well. Switch right is charge. So I am happy. I'm very, very happy. I don't know if the B button's working. The B button's working. I just pushed it. Unless it just went back to that. It's burn and play or play last. So that must be B. Maybe. I don't know. Favorite games. I'm not going to play around. Well, I am going to play around with it, but let's do the hardware test first. Lights are flashing. Press buttons. Right, there we go. Hear sounds. You can hear that just about. It's making noises. Press buttons and the lights are flashing. Now this seems to be laid out for the other version, the mini version, but I am more than happy that that is working. So let's turn it off. And let's see, charging and programming, you plug it in and it charges. It's obviously charged all right. Before you plug it in, you should recheck your soldering joints. Yes, it should. Before you turn it on and get playing, we advise you to charge the console because the battery is going to be very low. So yes, we shall do that. I do have a USB plug over here. So I can plug that in there. And then I can plug this in at the top socket. Which way round? That way round. I assume something's going to happen with that now. Or is that the charging? Or is that the programming one? No, there we go. Things come on. But that's just powered it up, I think. I don't think that is charging. I think it charges through the bottom one. I don't know what the top one, I think, will be to connect it up to do things. It would charge in the bottom one because that's the chargy bit, isn't it? So let's plug that in there. Yeah, there we go. Then we get a little charge light. Red obviously means it's charging. So I shall let that charge for a bit, and then I shall... Don't forget the case. It says, I knew there was a last thing. There's the case to put on. So we've got the case. We've got to attach the battery to the case and put the front panels on. The acrylic is covered in paper. It is. So let's move that to there. The paper will peel off easily in just one section. I'm not going to have to spend ages picking at little edges of it. I'm probably going to spend ages picking at little edges. Oh, no, maybe. Hang about. That's feeling like it's coming off in one. Oh, look at that. That's come off in one. Let's get the same off the back. I'm just happy that it worked when I turned it on. It obviously needs to charge a bit. It's about half charged by the looks of that battery test screen that I just saw. So yeah. Now these front panels obviously are transparent. The back panel is not. So that is a side. It's got 4 buttons on it. So this is going to be this side with the reset button. I'm not going to be able to do it while it's charging, am I? But that is going to go on there like so. But before that goes on there, we've got to put the button caps on. The reset one is obviously different to the others. Here we go. Now all of these don't have any labeling or markings on them, but they do have little square bits on the back. The buttons have little square tops, so they should go on a bit like that. There we go. So if I can get these on, get that attached with the spacers and that, I'll get it figured out and show you how it goes together in just a moment. Right, as ever, I will show you when I make a mistake and when there are problems. The case doesn't fit on it quite right. It fits mostly, but these 2 buttons, the reset and the top button, aren't lined up quite right. So I managed to get it on, but only by taking it and having the buttons actually being pushed down all the time. And looking at it more carefully, I see that I have made an error. You can see, if you look at it from that angle, those buttons are splayed outwards. The reset button is pointing over that way. That one is pointing over that way a bit. So I have disconnected the battery, obviously, when I was playing around with it. What I'm going to intend to do is resolder those joints and push it in a bit while I'm doing it. I'm hoping that I can do both of them basically and make it work. It might be that I do need to desolder to get this to work like that. I shall endeavour. I did unplug my soldering iron, so I do need to wait for that to heat up. That's why it's not working yet. Right, I shall see what I can do with that. Hopefully it will be a quick fix and I can get that done. When it is done, that fits over there, obviously with spacers on that. You fit spacers to the back of that, thusly, and then the back panel will fit, funnily enough, over the back. So you can access the bits if you need to. Yeah, everything else seems to be okay. I think that spacing is correct. It's got to be really, isn't it? So yeah. So that's going to go on there. You can see the 2 charging lights through the back there as well. So I shall get those corrected. I'll get the other side fitted on and make sure that works as well, obviously. Less buttons to worry about on that side, so that should be okay. So, yeah, let's get that done, and hopefully that will be a quick fix. I'll show you in just a moment. Okay, I couldn't do that on the reset button. It just wasn't working. I couldn't do them both of them. So I shall be trying to use the desoldering gun. I'm going to heat up this there and then basically suck away as much of the solder as I can. Get the right button. That should make that joint free and easy to do again. Let's try the top one. Can't really make out what it's done, but hopefully that has removed enough of the solder from there that I can now push that button in a little bit further. Actually, I'm going to need to free up the other side as well because it's all hinged and works. Right, I'll try it again, get it all right. I'll be back. Yep, all sorted. Happy, 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 happy. All the buttons work. You probably can't hear them, but they're clicky. The ones on that side as well, no trouble. The LED comes out just enough. It's fine. So the back needs to go on. The battery needs to be fixed in place, and that will be that. So this obviously goes on that way around like that. The battery's going to fit in that area there with the wire sort of being bent round and twisted out of its way. Where should we put the battery? That way round? Yeah, that way round is probably your best bet. So yeah, let me use the double-sided tape. The best bet for doing this, I think. If I put that on the battery, like so, then peel off the other side, like so. Get the battery where we need the battery to be. That wire out of the way from all of that. And then, if I put that in place, the battery should stick to that, like that. Then I can take it back off, push the battery in place to make sure it does stay where it should be and isn't going to get caught on any of those. Put that on again to make sure and keep an eye that the battery is not going to short out against anything. No, that's all good. And then we can once again put some more nuts in place. These nuts do not have a side. The black ones that I put on the screen, underneath the screen, did have a flatter side and a rounded side. So make sure you get them the right way around if you need it to. And that's that. A little bit of foam, obviously some rubbish that I don't need, and the one connector that we didn't use. Because we didn't need to use it, it's not that I forgot it or left it over. That was the other one from the battery, wasn't it? So that is that. The other two will also go in place there. And then I can get them all tightened up. I'll get it charged up a little bit more. And then we'll have a look at the actual screen and see what we can make out on there. But that is it. It looks lovely. It looks nice and exposed, and you can get to all the, you can see all the lovely workings. I'd be sort of happier if the back was transparent as well, but that's fine. That's okay. Right. Let me get it tightened up. Let me get this cleared away. And then we'll have a look at the actual functioning of it and make, well, first of all, yeah, it still works. That's a good thing. Right. We'll get this cleared away and then we'll see what it can do. Right. The light has changed from red to blue, which means it's charged. If I unplug that now, we are completely isolated and alone with just the unit itself. I've taken all the protective covers off, the screen cover off and everything, and we should be good to go. Let me zoom in a bit on that for you. Okay, that is as sharp as I can get it and as still as I can hold it, basically. So this is the 8bitCade XL, the loader. We can go through different things. We've got maintenance, we've got arcade games, board games, platform games, puzzle games, racing games, RPG, shooter, sport, fighting, action, multi, and 2-player games, as well as some creative and some apps and favourites. I assume the favourites is self-populated depending on what you are going to end up with doing. Let's go for a platform game, shall we? I think... No, that's not the right button. I keep getting these buttons confused. This is B and this is A down the bottom there. Does it actually say... It just says button A underneath it. Look, it says it underneath it. I should know that. So let's go to... as I was... Platform, I think. Look at some platform games. Or a platform game anyway. Racing, puzzle, platform. There we go. So we have Argue Mine, Burger Time, Castle Boy. Lots of different things. They've all got fake names because they're not really allowed to have the actual games. Let's try Hollow. I don't know what that is. There we go. We've got Flashy Lights. We've got Hollow Seeker. I don't know what that means. It's some sort of mining thing. There's a mining man there. Start game, sound on. We'll have sound on. Why not? Hopefully you can hear that. There we go. We've got, obviously, moving around. I don't have a jump button. I've got squashed, I think. All right. I don't know. I don't know what I've got to do. Not get squashed, probably. I got squashed. New record, 33. Let's try that again. Okay, so you can sort of see where gaps are going to be, and you need to hide in those when you get squished. Let's have a look and see if I can find another one. Is that one there? No, there. There we go. I made it. I'm going to get more than 33 this time. Don't know if no, I didn't get squashed. That's all right. It will keep you amused for about 10 seconds, and then that's probably the... Oh no, I made it to another bit. I'm in the hundreds now. I'm just an expert at this game. I don't know how I'm so good. I even survived that one. I wasn't even looking that time. The graphics are sharp, but not obviously great. 189, new record. So press the reset button, which is there. We can go back to the list. So if I go for a platform, that's platform. Go up from there. I go to the Zoom Midnight. Actually, we just did platform, didn't we? So let's go to a board game instead. Xmas Puzzle. Don't know how Christmassy it's going to be. Dancer's Happy Little Packer. Press B. Level 1. Start. I have no idea. Choose diff pattern. Have you got to make a... I don't know what I'm doing. Did level 1 without having even the faintest clue as to what's what. There don't seem to be any instructions for any of these. That's one thing I should point out. Now we've got... let's try buggy. Got to be a driving... no, driving's got its own section, so... I don't know. Looks like it might not actually work very... Oh, no, there you go. We've got some sort of moon buggy thing. We can shoot things. We can jump. Game over. Did I not manage that little hole? Was that too much for me? I think it was. Let's try again. I have to jump over that little hole. Yeah, that little hole I couldn't manage. Not a terribly exciting game. Oh no, I can go over that. I just can't go over the big ones, maybe. 90. What's the 200 points? I'm slowing down for some reason. I've got to keep going. Go faster. Oh, that hurt. Okay, so that going over the things does hurt, but you can get better if you don't run things over. So yes, that is it. It's working. It does things. What board games have we got? Cribbage, Dark Star, Deep Dish 9, Dominoes. Press play on tape. I don't know what that means. All right, we're loading a virtual tape. Dominoes, all 5s. Press A. Number of players, 1. Player, I'm putting my name. I don't know. I do vaguely know how to play dominoes, but I don't know how this will work. There we go. Puzzle games. Maze. IQ Brain. Blocks. Lots and lots and lots of games in here. I don't know any of them. But there we go. Simon's Rock, the early. I don't know what that means. If you play it long enough, you'll figure out something. I might not. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that was. Let's try a racing game. Argue Road. Why not? We can drive down a road. Don't know. It doesn't seem to be going very fast. Do I need to hold it to get it into it? Some of these games are not very well programmed, I must admit. It's got lots on it, but some of them are rubbish. Shooter, 101 starships. There's got to be 101 starships on it. Oh, there you go. It's just a Galaxian type. Oh, I think I powered something up and then blew up. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So that is it. That is the what it says on there, 8bitCade XL. It's obviously only one color screen, but it does the job. It's amusing. It keeps things occupied for a little while, and it was a very fun build. My soldering skills are better than I really thought they might be, so I'm happy with that. If you've enjoyed watching it, then think about getting your own. As I say, if you use my affiliate link, they pay me a little bit for sending you their way. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Do leave a comment and let me know what you thought of it, and I shall see you for something else very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye bye for now.